Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insanely Leader 13, and we're preparing to get underway here for our next round in the XRL season. For X3, we're looking at a roughly 14-car grid for today's race at Silverstone, the home for many of the drivers here, as this is a British-dominated series. We'll be getting into the exact details on what we should be looking for shortly here today. But first thing to note, 14 drivers, that means that Q3, the first round of qualifying, is not really going to have much of an effect. It's going to be a matter of you want to get out there, you want to get a lap in, and then after Q3 is over, Q2 is where the real test is going to show up. Now here we start loading onto the circuit itself. So, Silverstone. Yesterday it was a fight in the dev race. Yesterday it was a fight between two of our championship contenders, XR Zola and Schumacher SF7, for the title for that race win. This could end up having some significant ramifications in today's race, because that means there is a very high likelihood that we end up seeing the same two title fighters at the front. Herbago, who has won the last 2 weeks' races at Montreal and Baku respectively, has not shown up for today's event. Unless he joins in the middle of this round qualifying, it's extremely likely that he will end up losing significant ground in the title fight due to that. First driver to get onto the circuit will be Plastic Love. Love, who had a fantastic run last week at Montreal, looking to use that as a launch point for the rest of the season here. Official weather report says that this should be a dry race from start to end throughout the most of the day today. However, there is a light chance of rain, about 18% worth throughout the entirety of qualifying and the race. But assuming we stay green start to finish, is a high likelihood we'll stay green start to finish here. Seeing a little bit more drivers come out on track. This is Gulminator, who's come out into the circuit. Mercedes, AMG, also Dave and Collie Boy in the Alfa Romeos have both showed up. Alfa Romeo, as long as they keep having both cars enter, you'd think that they'd be making some great headway in the Manufacturers' Championship, but incidents and hiccups keep derailing their races, despite the fact that both Collie and Dave have been putting on some very respectable runs in qualifying. May have another driver join in the middle of qualifying, potentially. We're thinking possibly Fratters. As you see Collie Boy come to the end of Sector 1, 28.101. But then he invalidates in the very next corner. And therein lies the big problem with Silverstone. Silverstone is a acceleration-focused, flat track. And there are lots of corners of varying shapes and sizes. It makes it very difficult to keep a proper clean lap around here. Not impossible. This is one of the wider circuits on the F1 calendar, but it sure is not easy around here. And there goes Mercedes as he runs wide in Sector 2. Galminator's still in the middle of the clean lap. He has 4 corners left in the Alpine, though. First driver to set a time. Looks like it will be him. Mantic Meerkat is running slow in Sector 3, but that's just because he doesn't want to burn through too much fuel before he starts his lap. Coming to the final corner now. Galminator sets the time everyone will be going for, 1:30.480. Right after him will be, I believe, this man here, Dave, is set to be the second person to set a time. Dave is set 31.356. Egedy out on track right now. AlphaTauri still clean at the moment. And he does have enough ERS if he so chooses. He could go ahead for another flyer. May have enough fuel to go for another flyer also. But 1:31.352 is his time that he'll set at this point right now. And now the focus goes to Dragon. Dragon making his first start in several weeks. A successful procedure has gotten him to where he no longer has to worry about using a false leg. He's now gotten surgery that has given him a real-life leg from another cadaver sewed on to repair damage he took from a service injury. Dragon says that just in a little bit of time he's actually been able to race because he does use a wheel setup. With a proper leg, he has found significantly more time because there's just more feeling and more control that he has over the pedals now. Dragon is someone we could look forward to having a significant leap forward in performance over the next few weeks. And that could make him extremely dangerous. Mercedes has invalidated another lap. Polyboy not able to set anything in the prior lap, but he's going for it this time. And now Dragon goes to the top, 129.7. Meerkat out onto the track, as is Imperium, who is in the Williams. So we're going to go ahead and ride silently for a lap on board with Imperium here around Silverstone, see what a lap is like here in the Williams machine. And a spin by Imperium entering Sector 2. And while it is still a legal lap, that's really going to sabotage that run. The good news, though, with only 14, maybe 15 drivers, if Friars is able to join in time, Imperium is basically guaranteed a shot in the next round of qualifying. For him, the big thing is he just needs to make sure he gets a clean lap to the line. Plastic Love retires in the pits because he knows that his time is good. Mantic Meerkat in the middle of the lap. Very, strange paint scheme on that McLaren. Snake also in the middle of a lap, as is Mercedes, who's going to try and go for another attempt at this here. through Maggots and Beckett's for Mercedes. Mind you, Dragon fastest lap came on his second lap, so there is a possibility that is just having lighter fuel loads is overall. Oh, and there's been an incident. That's Eggity, who has had a spin, or like a half slide, coming out of pit lane. Mantic Meerkat now goes to the top with a 29.186. And there is something wrong with that AlphaTauri, I think, as he comes to a complete stop. Seems to be very unsure about his ability to get a lap in here. Mercedes now in the middle of another lap. This is his second attempt on this set of tires. Flavor now coming out onto the circuit in the Ferrari camp. Mercedes sets a 28.5 at the end of Sector 1, so he has gone faster through Sector 1 before. But for him, it's just a matter of getting a lap in. There we are. Now Fratters officially joins. And another spin, this one coming to the line, but Mercedes does officially have a time, 131.880. Not really a whole lot of reason for me to elaborate. It was a very straightforward event of just sending it way too hard coming out of the final corner. Snake now goes to the top, 129.158. Mantic Meerkat retires in the pits as Flavor's in the middle of his lap. Schumacher also in the middle of an outlap right now. Fratter still in pit lane, has only about 6.5 minutes to get out onto the circuit. Higgs Boston doing an interesting little thing. Normally XRL only lets drivers in if they're running under Xbox, but he is running on the PC. Now PC is typically known to have a significant advantage over Xbox due to frame rates, letting their cars go faster. So I'll be interested to see if Higgs Boston is able to punch above his weight here today. And now Fratters has begun his outlap. Eggity goes up to 5th now, 30.4. One 6.681 at the end of Sector 2. And now through the last 4 corners here in Sector 3. And at the line, 131.502. So we're going to go ahead and try ride silent. And there we are. Flavor goes up 131.257. And the Red Bull of Zola goes up third, 129.419. But we're going to go ahead and try ride silently for a lap on board with Fratters to see what a lap is like on board the Haas. We tried it earlier with the Williams, only for him to spin out. Hopefully, Fratters won't have the same problem. Interesting to note, he's already burning through a respectable part of his ERS before he even gets to the line, so he is absolutely hoofing it just to get a time in the books. Alright, now we're going to go silent. Well, that did not last very long, and at this point, Fratters is the only driver who has yet to set a time, as all 14 other drivers have done so. So Fratters is just a matter of getting back to the line. The two Ferraris of Schumacher and Flavor still out on track. And I am seeing some movement in the pit lane, but I believe that's just the Red Bull Azola retiring into his pit box. Good news for Fratters, he has a little bit more ERS this time. The bad news, though, is that he's going to have knocked off some of the best off of that rubber of his. We'll go ahead and once again ride on board silently with Fratters. Hopefully he can keep it clean for a full lap this time. It is not the smoothest of laps, but Fratters gets a time in, 132.158. And with that in mind, this will bring our qualifying session to a close once he's done on this second lap, which should be a cooldown lap, I imagine. But look at the timesheets right now. It looks like if you're in the 130s, you'll have a shot at making it into Q3. Fratters down by not quite 2/10 at the end of Sector 1, but again, he doesn't have the ERS and he spins. Game back underway now. And this will be it. Once Fratters crosses the line, our qualifying session will come to an end. Actually, is ending just a little bit earlier than normal. Oh, that's no bueno. Okay, well, this has become a bit painful, but he's in at least. He just needs to finish this lap. That works as well. So our first round of qualifying is over, and at the top it is XRL Snake, a veteran of the X3 Series in the Mercedes, and it's looking very good for Mercedes as both of their drivers are in the top 5s in time. 129.7 for Dragon, 129.158 for Snake. And there's your results. Big spread in time from the top to the bottom. 3.3 seconds from 1st to 15th. But right at the top, Snake and Schumacher are just 3,000 separating them at the moment. Alright, now we get underway for Q2. This is where the eliminations start coming as 15 drivers are fighting for the top 10 starting positions. First drivers to get out onto the circuit. Looks like it's going to be the Alpine of Gulminator, followed by Mantic Meerkat and Schumacher SF7. Boy, about half the field, almost the entire grid's rushing to get out onto the circuit early. I wonder if there's a threat of rain that has increased, and that is spurring on this massive run to get laps in. Because that's about 10, yeah, that's 10 of our 15 drivers already out on track now. Dragon still in the pits in the Mercedes camp, as is his teammate Snake, so there's no hustle in the Mercedes group. Now we see Fratters coming out onto the track. Gulminator has gotten a good gap over these drivers here, Mantic Meerkat and Schumacher. Schumacher's invalidated this lap, but again, it's only an outlap, so that doesn't matter too much. This is Dave. He's 4th in line. Interesting enough, for Gulminator, there's a risk that he could end up catching Plastic Love. And maybe even Fratters if Fratters has a bad run through here. That's Flavor, who has brought out the local yellow in Sector 3 as he is running excessively slow to try and open the gap between himself and the Aston Martin ahead. .31 for Colley at the end of Sector 1. Plastic pulls all the way aside for Gulminator, and this is great news for Gulminator because it's a clean track ahead. Fratters is already coming down to the last 3 corners, so it's very unlikely he's going to end up inhibiting Golminator on this lap. And Golminator aborts. The lap looked fine, but Golminator will abort. So it will be Schumacher and Meerkat will be the first 2 to cross the line here. And the times that they will set that everyone will be chasing here. 129.3, 128.8. And now we see Collie, he'll cross the line to 29.6. Agony, 31.8. And that's Higgs Boston coming to the line now. As see Davis is the 30.6, and Higgs will set the 130.159. Meerkat has come to a stop completely. That was interesting. So following Mercedes around the track, Plastic Love also in the middle of a lap as well. In fact, he is invalidated this lap, so he's going to have to set up for another one here. Running extremely slow. Now, luckily for him, most of the drivers behind him on track are retiring into the pits at the moment. Here comes Mercedes to the line. Really wide, and he invalidated coming out of the last corner. Ah, I feel your pain, Mercedes. I feel the pain. Plastic in the middle of a slow lap right now. Dragon in the middle of a flyer, though, as is Imperium, as is Snake, and Zola. Zola. Also of note, that's the Alfa Romeo who's just crossed the line there. But Dave will not improve on his lap time as Zola begins his lap. Golminator bringing his Alpine back down pit lane, so he's about to set up for another flyer. So keep an eye on that. Plastic Love coming to the line again. This time he can start pounding out a lap. This is not going to be a fast lap for Plastic. In fact, it looks like he may have invalidated it. But now he can properly push on this circuit. So a much busier track here in the second session of qualifying. As we've watched Zola second in the title fight, as he has a purple sector 2 now. Higgs Boston 129.541, so he's gone even faster now. So he's loaded that Aston Martin up with a lot of fuel, and the advantage of being a lighter car is outweighing the advantage of having fresher rubber. Last quarter coming up for Zola. And his time at the line will be a 129.080. That's the second best thus far. Here comes Snake in the middle of his lap. I'm more interested in Dragon, his teammate, because he just has these last 3 corners to go. 129.564, that's the 5th best thus far. But Plastic Glove, another invalid lap, and he's out of fuel. This has not gone well for Plastic, not been able to get a single clean lap in thus far in Q2. Golminator in the Alpine in the middle of his lap after he was the first driver out, but he didn't even invalidate, he just gave up at the end of his flyer and came right into the pits, waited a long time before coming back out on track. He's going now, though. 28.1 at the end of Sector 1. Snake has had a spin coming out of the 4th to last corner. That's not going to help him whatsoever. There goes the AlphaTauri of Eggity, who'll pass by. Snake needs to hope that his tires aren't completely melted. And he's actually not even going to try and go again. He'll come right back into the pits. I think he had the fuel to go for another lap, but he's going to come into the pits right away. Tire wear may be a little bit worse on that Mercedes. And he thought, oh, and Golminator invalidates in the S's now. So focus goes back to this man here, Mercedes AMG in the Aston Martin. As he goes down through Sector 1 and into Sector 2 now. Zola retires in the pits. Plastic Glove and Snake both in the pit lane. Dragon into the pit lane as well. Golminator coming across the line. To begin a lap, that would have been a 130.7, so it still would have been a respectable time. The car will be a little bit lighter this circuit compared to the last one. Now we see Dragon retiring in the pits. Coming back out onto the track is Extra Flavor. No, that's not Flavor. That is Schumacher, actually, who's coming back out into the circuit. Right now, Eggity is on the bubble with a... I'm sorry. Eggity's just improved. He's off the bubble at 31.070. So it's Fratters with a 31.3 who is on the bubble, and PRM is on the outside looking in. There are 4 drivers, all of varying speeds, who have yet to set their laps. Antic Meerkat coming to the line. He's the only driver thus far who's gotten into the 28s. Does not improve on his lap time, though. Golminator will be the 12th driver to set a time. 130.084. So now Fratters is on the outside and Eggity is back on the bubble. Plastic Glove finally going to have a lap as he comes to the line here. But that was his out lap, I guess, and the game didn't properly account for that. Or the game's HUD wasn't properly accounting for that. So this is his actual proper flyer. Mercedes 106.244 at the end of Sector 2. That Schumacher, that red dot who's coming through the final corners now, as he's going to try and go a little bit faster. Of note, Schumacher is still battling about with COVID. I got to talk with him on Friday and then a little bit yesterday. He felt absolutely horrible. He's a little bit better now, a little bit more resilient in the car, but still not been a great time for him at the moment. Mercedes, 131.474, so he finally gets a time, but he is on the outside looking in. Eggity still on the bubble. What can Plastic Glove and Snake pull out? Snake's just begun his lap. Plastic Glove now sends it into Magus and Beckett's. Now a horrible run through there. He powers out 105.143, and Meerkat has now gone faster, 128.396. And through the final corner, Plastic Glove will finally get a lap in. 129.559, and that has a massive effect because now Flavor is on the bubble, Eggity is on the outside looking in, Fratters still needs to improve. He does. Fratters is in, Flavor is out, Dave is on the bubble now. Dave's already responded. He comes to the line. Is he able to improve? No, not that lap. Snake still has yet to set his time as well. And a 104.976 is what he does. And we're in the last minute and a half of this session. If you're not already on track, it's a high likelihood you're not going to get a lap in. Schumacher improves up into the 28s now with a 28.785, but still the better part 4/10 out from Meerkat's time. Out of the final quarter comes Snake. It will be a 129.125. That's fourth best. So Fratters on the bubble. Dave trying to get back in. Flavor trying to get back in. Eggity and Imperium are out. They're not going to be able to get out in time to get another lap. Mercedes still trying to find something, anything at the moment. Flavor is up by 126 thousandths, but that in itself won't be enough. You need to find a bunch more time. He needs to find the better part 4/10. Dave needs to improve by 4 thousandths if he wants to knock Fratters out, and he's up by nearly a full 10th, so he might be able to do it. Fratters, though, is still on track, trying to go faster. Can he find something in these final corners? And that could have a knock-on effect and knock Galminator off. To the line, Fratters, no bueno. Here comes Dave, though. Oh, and he cuts the final corner, but he's in. Dave cut the final corner, but the game did not penalize him for it, and Dave is in, and Fratters is out. That could become very controversial after Dave cut the final corner. I'm curious to see if that will actually hold up. Here comes Flavor to the line now. And he's now knocked Dave out. 130.139, time's up in the session. Dave going for another lap. Fratters is invalidated. Mercedes coming to the line. Is he up by enough? No, he improved, but he's still 14th. So can Dave launch something against Flavor? Flavor currently up by about 35 hundredths of a second, and Dave is slowing down. Dave is slowing down. Dave is not going to go faster. Flavor is in. But I will bet that Fratters will probably report Dave in between, well, during Q3 here for cutting the corner in the final corner on his flyer lap. And that will bring this session to a close. So we're just waiting on Dave to officially retire in the pits before we can move on to the next round in the final round of qualifying. So there's your results. Interestingly enough, top 10 all separated by about 1 3/4 of a second. But you look at the top 4, they're all within 3/4 of each other. And like I said earlier, you basically need to be in the 130s. Well, I was wrong. 129s were the guaranteed time to make it in. Meerkat and Schumacher really upped the ante, and Zola just barely outside the 28s at the moment. But for Imperium, Mercedes, Eggity, Fratters, and Dave, They'll have an extra set of softs, but it will be a bit of a rough beginning to this race for them. All right, preparing for the final round of qualifying here. Interesting enough, the Red Bull, not the Red Bulls, the Mercedes and the Ferrari teams, they have both of their drivers in this final session. If they chose, they might be able to go ahead and try to time some drafting shenanigans to get some faster laps in here. And the first driver out on circuit, again, is going to be Gulminator. I'll be curious to see if he properly commits to his first flyer or not. Mantic Meerkat, second driver out on track. So a complete inverse of what we were seeing in Q2. Here in Q3, everyone's taking a lot more time to get out onto the circuit. Which I had to take care of a bit of a thing there. That's Schumacher, who's now out onto the track as well, and we're seeing some movement in the Mercedes camp. That's Dragon, who's now coming down pit lane. So an extremely staggered, slow start to Q3 here. Meerkat had that fantastic run at Baku 2 weeks ago, missed last week's race at Montreal, but he's the only driver representing McLaren today. He's been putting down some respectable laps thus far, so the entire McLaren team has absolutely opened up a new can on the rest of the field. A new can of, as my sister and I like to call it, a can of whoop my ass. So yeah, only about half of our field is out on track right now. This is an abnormally slow start to this session. Also, credit where credit's due. Although we've have had a few spins, there have been no accidents, no DNFs thus far in qualifying. And now that I said that, we're probably going to have one in this session. But yeah, and everyone's been able to set laps in the session, so it's been a relatively clean and calm set of qualifying thus far. Gulminator will commit to this lap. So he's going to set the benchmark time that everyone else is going to go for in the Alpine. We continue to watch Mantic Meerkat in the McLaren as he comes out of Max and Beckett's. Gulminator 130.148. We know that faster times are capable, and one of those faster times will probably be set by this man here as Meerkat goes into the last four corners now. .128.4, so that's a lot closer to what we were expecting time-wise. Here's Schumacher, your current points leader, as Gulminator moves aside to let the Red Bull Zola have clean track. And now Schumacher goes to the top, 28.292. So great job on his part, and dare I say, there's a possibility that he could go faster if there is a little bit less fuel in the car, maybe. This is Dragon. He'll be the fourth driver to set a time in the session. 128.909. And now we focus to Zola. Last driver on track who has yet to set a time. We still have 5 people in the pits who haven't come out onto the circuit yet. Excuse me, 128.852. So that puts Zola third. Now we're seeing Snake coming out of the pits. A very calm session, and now we're seeing a little bit more movement. That's Plastic Glove, who is now beginning the run out of pit lane. But already, this is only a 12-minute session, and we only have about 6 minutes and 15 seconds left, so I have to wonder if some of these drivers who are waiting so long to come out on track are trying to save sets of soft tires, and Schumi has had a spin coming through Sector 3. Now, he is on a cooldown lap, so it's not going to matter that much, but still suggests that he may not be as confident with that car as his current on-track rivals, Zola and Meerkat. Plastic took a long time for him to get a time in Q2, but when he did, it was one of the top 7 fastest. He's not going to want to wait so long to set a time this time. Interesting enough, no one has set anything in the 129s thus far. Okay. That's no good. As Plastic Love has had a complete wing failure on the straightaway. That's not something you expect. That's not something you see every day. The good news for Plastic is that he will be able to navigate back to pit lane, but this is going to eat up a lot of time for him to attempt a proper flying lap. It's been one of those days for him, I guess. Higgs Boston is beginning his outlap. Galminair is on another outlap, but this man here, Snake, interesting enough, he is invalidated on his first flyer, and now he needs to save ERS and save fuel. But the biggest problem for Snake is that there's not a lot of time left, less than 4.5 minutes. That's 3 laps at flying speed, 4.5 minutes. So, yeah, this track's going to get very busy very shortly here, as we're now seeing the Alfa Romeo of Collie Boy coming out onto the circuit. So action's starting to pick up. Galminair a little bit behind Snake, but they shouldn't be close enough that the aero wake off of that Mercedes compromises the Alpine. Coming to the last 4 corners. Mantic Meerkat on an outlap right now. For some reason, the game seems to take away the outlap notification once drivers come into the start of Sector 3. I don't know why it's doing that. But Meerkat is out on track. Meerkat needs to improve by about 108 thousandths if he wants to knock Schumacher off the top spot. We're seeing a Ferrari come out onto the track. That is Flavor, who is now coming onto the circuit. Galminair is up by almost 1,500ths at the end of Sector 1. So he could break in to the 129s if he keeps that advantage together and adds a bit more to it. Snake is ahead of him on circuit, and this lap is still clean for him. 3 drivers, Schumacher, Zola, and Dragon, all in pit lane. 3 of our top 4 fastest, and I have to think that all 3 of them are waiting until the last possible moment to go out on circuit to get a lap in. 105.012 for Snake. 104.928 for Galminator, both out of Sector 2. So Galminator is definitely going to break into the 129s at this pace. Into the final corners now is Snake. And into the 129s he goes. 129.562. He'll be followed right afterwards by Galminator. 129.304. Flavor coming to the line to start his lap. Here comes Mantic Meerkat trying to go faster. He's definitely got the pace. He can get into the 128.1s potentially. Yes, he does. 128.185. So he's back to being over a tenth of a second faster than Schumacher. Schumacher responds by coming out onto the track already, as has Zola. Dragon retires in the pit, so he's not going to try and go faster. Plastic now does not have to worry about the wing failing this time. Will actually get a lap in. Flavor is in the middle of a lap. Collie has invalidated this circuit. He needs to get this following lap clean because this is going to be his last chance. We have less than a lap's worth of time as these drivers are crossing the line here. For Schumacher and Zola, it is the race for them to get to the start-finish line before the time is up, and I think both of them will be able to do it. Plastic's invalidated this lap, and that's it. That's horrible news for Plastic. He's going to be relegated to a 10th place finish unless both Flavor and Collie also invalidate their laps. See the Mercedes of Snake and the Alpine of Galminator coming into the pits. So that will keep the track a little bit cleaner for this man here, Mantic Meerkat. But Meerkat's on a cooldown lap right now. Does not have the fuel or the RS to pound out another circuit here at full pace. Flavor finally sets a time, 130.181, and he can go ahead and go another lap if he so chooses. Collie coming to the line. Higgs began another lap. As you look at the clock at the top left corner, you can see that time's up. Over. Plow. Here comes Collie through the last three corners. One final 90-degreer to go. And at the line, 129.157. That's good enough for fifth. So the focus now goes to Zola and Schumacher. Zola up by over a tenth in Sector 1. Up by nearly 3/10 in Sector 2. That might not be enough to get him ahead of Schumacher, though. Especially if Schumacher is up. Schumacher set his best time in Sector 2 this time by. Zola, the fuel light is flashing. He's nearly out of fuel. Can he get onto the front row? Out of the final corner for Zola. He's up by a quarter, but he's still not fast enough to get ahead of Schumacher. Schumacher is up by over a tenth, and Schumacher gets the pole, 128.069. Outstanding job. Flavor invalidates his lap and comes into the pit, so this will bring an end to qualifying once Higgs Boston gets his lap in. Boston up by 32 thousandths at the moment. Can he find a little bit more time, enough to get ahead of Galminator? He needs to improve by 15 hundredths, and he's only up by 3 hundredths at the moment. Out of the final corner, Boston, yes he does, finds it all in the final sector, so good job on Boston. But at the top, it is this man here, Schumacher SF7, who jumps ahead of the McLaren, jumps ahead of the Red Bull, jumps ahead of the Mercedes, and will put his Ferrari on pole once again here at his home track at Silverstone. And there's your results. Plastic Love unable to get a time in, so he will only start 10th. Flavor gets a time, but he's the only one in the 30s, 2 seconds off. Everyone else, though, within 1.5 seconds of each other. And of note our top 5 all within 1.1 second of each other. I think we could see a 4-car train near the front of this race, assuming we don't have any weird stuff at the start. Interesting enough, Dragon, Colley, Higgs, Boston, several drivers only went on a single set of softs that entire session. So they will have extra softs, and that kind of comes into the big question about this race. A lot of drivers say that starting on mediums and going to hards is the ideal strategy, but if we have yellow flags, how does that strategy change? If we have a yellow flag early on, do you want to go ahead and get off the mediums early to get on the hards early for track position and just have to nurse them to the end? If we have yellows in the middle of the crossover point, well, you get a significant advantage by staying on your strategy time-wise, and then at the same time, if you have a yellow late in the event, do you give up track position to get fresh, soft rubber? Especially because a lot of drivers will be starting this race on mediums. They'll be at hards by the final session. All right. Well, before we get too far into anything there, we're going to go ahead and look at the point standings as they are right now. So, in the Manufacturers' Championship, this is what it looks like right now. 10th is AlphaTauri with only 30 points. There's a tie for 8th between Mercedes and Williams. They both have 40 points even. 7th is Aston Martin. They have 45 points. 6th is Alfa Romeo with 64. 5th is Alpine with 77 points. 4th is Haas with 90. Then we get into our 3 contenders for the manufacturer title. 3rd is Red Bull with 108 points. The fact that Constantin has not shown up to races for the last few weeks has definitely been hurting the results. 2nd is McLaren with 165 points. Ferrari leads with 168 points on the top of the sheets right now. In the Drivers' Championship, things look a little bit different, but in some ways the same. 18th is XL Snake with a single point. 17th is Imperium SQ with 4. Constant Jet is 16th with 8 points. 15th is Boothly 116 with 10. 14th is Eggedy with 12 points. 13th is Galminator with 14. 12th is Mercedes AMG with 16 points. There's a tie for 10th between Plastic Love and XR Dave. 20 points even for them. 9th is CJ Hurricane with 21 points. 8th is Fratters with 24. 7th is AK Herbie 53 with 38 points. 6th is Collie Boy with 44 points. Flavor is 5th with 49 points, and then we get to your potential championship contenders, although with 4th place Mantic Meerkat only having 68 points, just a little bit more than half of what our current points leader has. It's a little bit iffy if we can really consider him a title contender. But there is enough time that he might be able to turn things around and make a mid to late season charge. 3rd is Herbago with 97 points. And then Herbago not running today, so he's going to more than likely lose a bunch of ground. 2nd, XRL Zola, 100 points exactly. Leading the Drivers' Championship is Schumacher, XRL MSC SF7. He has 119 points at the top right now. So that's what things are looking at the moment. Schumacher obviously going to look to extend his lead over Zola, but this is one of Zola's best tracks, so things could get very interesting there. As we go ahead and we bring up the race director for just a moment here. I said as we go ahead and bring up the race director for just a moment here. There we are. It's looking like almost the entire grid, if not the entire grid, will be choosing to start on the medium tires. And I understand that you lose so much time starting on the hards because the hards take a long time to get up to temperature and get up to speed. But I never, ever, ever want to be on the same strategy that everyone else is on in a scenario like this. If this is what the scenario looks like, give me a set of hard tires so that I can start slower and be faster near the end of the race. Also, that would mean that if we have a late race yellow, I'd lose less time potentially. That's just me though. I understand why everyone's running the exact same strategy at the moment, and the fact that, you're required to use only soft tires in Q1, Q2, Q3 in the current regs mean that there's not really much of an incentive to, try to experiment. But still, it's one of those things where I really, really, really just do not want to be on the same strategy as everyone else, because then it's just pure pace that decides. I'd rather be on an alternate strategy and maybe have some laps where I'm running in clean air all by myself so I can get even more life and more use out of the tires. But again, that's just me, and I do come from an American school of racing thought rather than a European school. So, just because I say it doesn't mean it's the only way it should be done. should be going green shortly here. Well, not going green, but loading onto the circuit shortly here. Alright, and here we are. One warm-up lap. Everyone will go ahead and use this to get some heat back into their tires. I have no idea what in the world Dragon did at the start there. That was weird. And indeed, every single car across the entire grid starting on the exact same tire choice. I'm honestly a little bit disappointed. Honestly, I'm just very disappointed. I don't... You'd think that someone would go ahead and roll the dice and try to get onto an alternate strategy. I understand that Silverstone being a big testing track and one of the main circuits that, you know, everyone and their mother goes crazy on. Because, especially amongst the European and British folk here, because this is a home circuit for for a large portion of the people here, you would think... I'm just saying, you would think that someone would go ahead and run an alternate strat. Soft, soft, medium, soft, hard, and assume that you can save a lot of tire life if you're in the case of flavor, maybe. Hard, medium. I'm a little bit I'm not surprised, but I'm just a little disappointed, because this also means that actual movement through the field is going to be limited almost exclusively to just who has DRS once DRS kicks in. Because, yeah, lap 1 you're going to have plenty of chaos then. But aside from that, like... I don't know. I will say this, these drivers here at the back of the grid, from Paris Plastic Glove on down, they're all so far back that the drivers up front, Schumacher, Meerkat, Zola, Dragon, they are going to be struggling with their tires not being at proper operating temperature. They're going to lose a lot of temperature here due to how far back the rear of the grid is. So we're going to start on board with the Alfa Romeo of Collie Boy here. I'd like to get with... Yeah, I'll run on board with Collie Boy, and hopefully he doesn't have a Guan Yu Zhou moment going into turn 1. Actually, nope. Alright, we're starting on Dragon. As we see the lights coming on. 4 lights, 5 lights. As lights out, away we go here at Silverstone. And Zola had a fantastic launch. So did Meerkat. Dragon, not so much. Schumacher holds the lead. They're 3 wide for a moment. There's just kicking up everywhere, but it looks like we have a clean run going through the first few corners, and Zola clears Meerkat, only for Meerkat to get him back by Red Bull versus McLaren, fighting here at the front at the start. Collie Boy up in the 4th position, looking to maybe get by the Red Bull driver, and Schumacher already opening up an 0.8 of a second gap on Meerkat, although Meerkat's setup maybe a little bit more straight line speed focus like what we've seen the last 2 weeks. He closed on Schumacher significantly down the straightaway. Collie Boy having to hold off Dragon, and now Dragon has a spin, and he hits, well, just barely nudges the inside wall, and his top 4th starting spot is rendered null. Schumacher now finding that Meerkat closing with rapid speed, so yes, Meerkat does seem to have a better car, at least at the initial start of this race. Schumacher not phased, though, as they go through Maggots and Beckett's. as they shoot out onto the straight. Schumacher and Meerkat opening up a significant gap on Zola at the moment. Zola just trying to get away from Collie Flavor fighting with Snake for hold on to the 7th position. Snake takes the inside line. It looks like it should be an easy overtake. No, yes it will. Not quite as easy as I think Snake wanted to, but he will out-drag Flavor into the following corner. Flavor puts his car on the inside curb, but that gives Snake the advantage in the second to last corner, and the Mercedes goes up into 7th. And now, Plastic Love is there behind Flavor, trying to see if he can go ahead and sneak by the number 2 Ferrari driver as they go through turns 1 and 2. Here comes Fratters, though, in the points-paying position. He'd like to earn more than just a single point, I guarantee you. He'd like to try and get multiple. Right in behind Plastic, but loses a bunch of time there, having to get off the throttle. Gaps already beginning to open up across the field. Now Dave is closing on Fratters as he wants to get into the points-paying positions. Higgs, Boston, he's looking at Gallman. This isn't normally an overtaking opportunity unless you want to send your championship rival into the outside wall at 65 Gs. And Dragon has had another spin at the exact same point of the racetrack. So there may be a setup issue on that Mercedes. Meerkat going to try and make a potential move on Schumacher before DRS even kicks in. So it seems very obvious which of these two have the superior car at the moment. Schumacher running a respectable enough defense. Meerkat sends it, but not going to send it too hard. Schumacher has the advantage for now. No DRS on the front straightaway here. And Gallmanator loses positions, and Higgs Boston has had an instant as well. So a 2-car instant there in the final chicane. Drops Higgs out of the points-paying position and causes Gallmanator to lose a spot and fall behind Flavor. Now Eggity gets by Higgs as well, and Higgs spins again. Zola closing back in. He is within DRS range of the leaders. Meerkat within DRS range and using that to put pressure on Schumacher. And Collie is showing up as well. So we're seeing another scenario that we've seen time and time again in the prior game. We have a 3 to 4 car breakaway at the front, and that's kind of ends up being it. All 4 of these drivers all within DRS range of each other as we ride on board with Zola as they head into Magnus and Beckett's once again. But Meerkat is way closer to Schumacher than Zola is to Meerkat. And DRS will be in the McLaren's favor. So I think for Meerkat, he can use DRS to try and get side by side with Schumacher as they get into this corner. Schumacher taking a relatively neutral line. He's going to bet that Meerkat won't send it. And indeed, Meerkat is a little bit more reserved this time by. But Meerkat really comes on strong, or has been coming on strong, in Sector 3 compared to Schumacher, who seems to be a little bit stronger in Sector 1. Collie losing a bit of time to the leaders, but still within DRS range. Zola actually set the fastest lap, and he just closed up a bunch there in Turn 1. And that's Mercedes, who has had an incident. And that is a full course yellow early, extremely early in the event, as Mercedes AMG has an accident and his car is stranded right in the middle of the racing line. Frustration. And Dragon gets a drive-through penalty for speed on the 6. Well, that was bull crap. That's bull crap if I've ever seen it. Higgs Boston goes ahead and pits to repair damage to the car. Schumacher has led every lap thus far, but Meerkat has been putting a lot of pressure on him. Zola is third, so our top 3 still in the same lineup they have been at the start. Collie started 5th and has worked his way up to 4th. Snake has had a respectively strong run thus far, though. 3 stops up. That's the same as Flavor, Plastic Love, Dave, and Fratters. And then also Imperium is in 12th, has also gained 3 spots as well, but that means a lot less considering that all the drivers he's ahead of is off the back of drivers having incidents. Alright, and coming to the party right now is Mercedes AMG. Mercedes, go ahead, include your audio. Accident coming out of the final corner, what happened?
Yeah, just tried to overtake, tried to attack the ass and just beached it on the final, well, just lost the throttle and DNF'd. Just went into the barrier, tried to keep it under control and yeah, just accidentally spun it.
Alright, well, it's a shame to see you knocked out like this. Your teammate Higgs Boston is still in the race. Do you think there's still a chance for you guys to take home points today?
Well, let's hope so. I mean, he's a good driver, so yeah, let's hope so.
Alright, well, I do want to say thanks for being willing to jump in and talk with us. It's a shame to see you out so early in this event, mate.
Cheers. Anyway, thanks.
So under this yellow flag, a little bit of strategy being pulled by Imperium SG, Eggedy, and Higgs Boston. Those 3 drivers all putting on hard tires. Somehow, Imperium they're waiting a long time in the pits before he got going. I'm guessing they were also serving a time penalty for him. But yeah, so these drivers will go ahead and be on hards, but those hards, I'm not confident that the hards will last safely for the remaining 21 laps of this race. As we look at the telemetry real quickly, everyone should be relatively even on ERS. Actually, Meerkat's been burning through a lot of ERS. He still hasn't fully charged it, interestingly enough. But everyone else through the grid should be good on ERS, and I think with this yellow flag, everyone should also be good on fuel numbers as well. So I'm not even going to bother checking the fuel numbers. Ferrari, McLaren, Red Bull, Alfa Romeo, Mercedes. So 5 different manufacturers at the top spot. And Higgs Boston now gets a time penalty for track violations. That's bold. Oh, Fratters is pitting now. So Fratters waiting even later to pit. So this will put him behind all the way back to 13th. But he's going to get off the mediums now, and he's also going to get onto the hards. Huh. Oh, there's wing damage on his car as well. I couldn't see any damage on the front wing, and they're putting soft tires on. So Fratters is either betting on another accident soon, or he's going to go medium, soft, medium, potentially to the end. It's a very bold strategy. Let's see how that plays out. Is there something wrong with Boston's car? Boston running excessively slow and does not actually seem to be closing on the leaders with any serious speed. Penalties for Fratters and Boston both have 3-second time penalties. Dragon has a, frankly, bullcrap drive-through penalty, but I'm sure he will serve that as they're coming to the green flag. So that will move Imperium up into 10th, highest of all the drivers who have pitted during this safety car. Fratters finally about to catch the back of the field here. Pace car opening a gap. Are we going to go green? I don't think we are. No, this has been an excessively long safety car, to say the least. I'm curious to see if another driver is going to choose to pit now. Now everyone's staying out this time. Higgs finally going to close in, but we are going to run more laps under safety car than under green due to how long it's taken for Higgs to catch up to the rear of the grid. So yeah, absolutely, everyone's going to be in a good position for fuel to the end now, and everyone's going to be good on ERS usage as well. So everyone's finally gathered up, and we should be going green on lap 8 after a yellow flag at the end of lap 3. Start lap 4. So yeah, we have run 4 laps under yellow and 3 under safety car thus far. For the drivers on the medium tires, this does give them an interesting plus, because their mediums have been able to go a lot longer now, so they can make their pit stop to swap onto the hards a little bit later if they so choose. And there's the word, safety car officially will be coming in this lap. Mantic Meerkat has come close to overtaking Schumacher for a lead, but has not led yet today. I fully anticipate he will be going for another shot at it here as we get underway. Dragon will have to serve a drive-through penalty, so it will be Imperium who realistically starts in the 10th position on the hard tires. How soon will the hards start closing ground on the mediums due to the cumulative wear of the lead top 9 cars? And Schumacher hits the go button before they even got to the chicane. But the gaps amongst the top actually works out in Schumacher's favor for a moment, and then now Meerkat starts closing back in again as Dragon serves his drive-through. So Meerkat not letting the Ferrari get away, and Zola hasn't fallen off that far either. Colley's struggling just a bit. Snake actually putting him under pressure as they go through the twisties in Sector 1. Is that Dave? Yeah, Dave hasn't having an incident as it all starts up, but they're still ahead of Imperium, who has actually just lost the position of Fratters, who is utilizing everything he can on those soft tires at the moment. Meanwhile, the top 3 are breaking away as Collie Boy has fallen to the grasp of Snake. Meerkat right there behind the Ferrari as we ride out the back of Schumacher's machine. You can see how aggressively, how quickly Meerkat closes. He continues to close. He gets right there behind the rear wing. As they come onto the straightaway, draft is in the McLaren's favor. He can utilize ERS as well if he so chooses. He looks to the outside, closing in, can't make it work. Actually dropped 2 tires into the grass, and Meerkat loses a bunch of time potentially from running his car into the grass like that. Yeah, Meerkat's already burned through nearly over half of his battery, and he's already laying on it again. So Meerkat trying to use ERS to overtake your leader Schumacher before DRS even kicks in. Flavor and Plastic Love fighting for 6 out behind, and looks like that will go in Plastic's favor. Zola losing touch with the lead pack, but we saw this at the start. Zola, it took him until lap 3 to really close in, but when he closed in with a vengeance. Meerkat down to 14% ERS already. As opposed, Schumacher is still running at 84%. Dave gets ahead of Gallminator now for the 8th spot. And Fratters is not pulled away from Higgs Boston nearly as much as we thought he would. 8% ERS for Mantic Meerkat. Now he brings it up to 10. He'll probably get to about 13, 14% out of Magus and Beckett's. And already he's burning it up again. He's within a third of a second though. 4%. He cuts off at 5%, but still you do use a little bit of the battery on a straight, irregardless of what happens. Snake now gets ahead of Collie Boy for 4th. So good job on his part. This is also the part in the race where at the start where Zola suddenly closed in massively on the leaders, and I think he's about to start trying to do it now. DRS is going to be in his favor, and he could use that to close in on Meerkat. Meerkat, 10% ERS right now, while Schumacher running with 78%. So for the moment, Schumacher has an absolute advantage in power, but now Meerkat's going to have DRS in his favor. He's already laying on the ERS before he gets into the DRS, so now he puts on DRS as well. His ERS is closing him down rapidly. He's going to be at almost none, 3%. And no, Zola is not closing on Meerkat like he did at this point last time, so it was a 2-car breakaway at the front. And again, Meerkat starts laying on the ERS super quickly here. But the gap is opening up amongst the top 2, and I think Zola could start closing if he gets a good run through Magus and Beckett's here. Dave has a time penalty back there in 8th. Real quick as we look at this fight for 10th and 11th, Higgs right behind Fratters as Fratters' soft tires are already starting to fall off. Higgs with a massive run, DRS base laying on the ERS as well, and he's by. Great job on the part of the Aston Martin. Schumacher has just set the fastest lap of the day thus far, 32.291. Meerkat still laying on the ERS. Zola, though, not closing on our top 2. So it's a 2-man fight with Schumacher holding the definitive advantage. Again, Meerkat lays on the ERS before they even get to the DRS zone, and now DRS pops in. So we're seeing the McLaren will be at his fastest potential speed, 199. But the gap starts opening up again. Now he lays on the ERS, and we'll use that to catch the draft off the Ferrari ahead and close in a bit. Top 2 breaking away from Zola in 3rd at the moment. Oh, big slide! And Meerkat sideways in the middle of Magus and Beckett's. He'll barely get offline, but Meerkat pushes it too hard, and a fight for a lead goes into a 2.5-second advantage for Schumacher as Meerkat falls all the way back to the 5th position. Might even lose that to Plastic Love here as Love is going to lay on the power. Can't get there in time. Well, that will have a massive knock-on effect. But Zola now goes up into 2nd overall, and Meerkat falls to 5th. Gulminator gets by Dave as Dave is making the stop to get off the medium tires early here. And Fratters gain off the softs as well, so I imagine both these drivers will be throwing on hards to the end of the race. So gaps amongst the field opening up quite a bit. Collie Boy just outside of DRS range of Snake. And same thing between Meerkat and Plastic Love. Meerkat's actually already gapping Plastic, it would seem. So all those drivers who jumped on the hards during that safety car have not gained any serious positions, although in Higgs' credit, he has closed up on Gulminator and is within DRS range of him, so we may see us fight for 8th shortly here. Got DRS. He's laying on the ERS. But not enough to get by the Alpine down that straight. And Zola, Snake, Collie Boy all pitting uniformly. In fact, a bunch of drivers all making stops at pretty much the same part. Dominator Payne, so now Higgs goes up into 8th, and he's going to gain a few more position from these leaders who had just pitted. So Higgs will now be focusing on Flavor for 4th. Schumacher now has an 8.9 second gap over Meerkat, but Schumacher, when will he pit? He's laying on the ERS, so he is absolutely pushing it hard. So we're anticipating that this will be his in-lap. Zola, who made the stop, he is going to be pretty much in a spot of his own. Imperium and Eggity ahead of him, though, will have hard tires. This could get very interesting because when Schumacher pits, there is a potential that he will be in the middle of a fight with Eggity and Imperium on track. Higgs right there behind Flavor. Not in a position to make an overtake through here, though. He'll have a great run with ERS-DRS combo here, and Boston goes up to 4th. Schumacher making his stop. Meerkat stays out another lap, so Meerkat will officially lead a lap, I imagine. Schumacher does leave that lap due to pit box positioning. Plastic Glove also pitting out 3rd. Flavor pitting as well. So Meerkat, the only driver who's still on the medium tires that he started this race on. He's done this with also having the spin early. Schumacher coming down pit lane. So Eggity will be ahead of Schumacher. The question is going to be not Plastic Glove, but Imperium actually. Where is Imperium going to be in relation to Schumacher? And Imperium actually behind Schumacher. So Schumacher in a respectable spot, about 4 seconds between himself and Eggity. Zola has to get by Imperium. So Schumacher overall in a net positive position. Ratter's time penalty for track violations back there in 13th. Higgs, who is in 2nd, also has a time penalty against him, but we believe that Higgs and Eggity, 2nd and 3rd, will have to stop again before this race is over. Probably throw on soft tires to go for fastest lap point. Gallmanair back in 11th now has a time penalty for track violations. And Meerkat has just run himself dry of ERS. I'm anticipating he's going to pit this lap. That is exactly what he'll do. And officially, Meerkat will be our first non-Ferrari driver to lead a lap here at Silverstone. But Boston now takes the race lead. Oh, Alfa Romeo, that is Dave, who has had a spin. Going through Maggins and Beckons, this will drop him out of the points paying positions all the way down to 13th behind Fratters. Zola closing in on Imperium. So this here could become a fight relatively shortly. Schumacher is not closing on Eggity in 2nd with any serious pace, but he may not feel that he has a need to worry about it. Power down for Zola, and this should be an easy overtake going into the braking zone. Imperium doesn't fight the Red Bull too hard, and Zola now goes up to 4th, 3 seconds away from Schumacher, who will inherit the lead once Eggity and Boston picks, and now Schumacher started to pick up the pace and close in on Eggity a bit. Dragon has just set the fastest lap back there in 14th position. Yeah, now that Zola has clean air on the nose of that car, he is beginning to cue in to Schumacher's advantage over him just a bit. Schumacher also cueing into Eggity, who is in 2nd. And there's Snake getting by Imperium, and Snake also has the fresher rubber. So those hard tires, they did not present enough of an advantage, it would have seemed. So basically everyone who pitted early struggling with tire wear at this point, with maybe the exception of Higgs-Boston. Eggety losing time to Schumacher, but at the same time, Schumacher is losing time to Zola. Not nearly at the same rate, but Zola is closing. 11 laps to go at this stage here in the race. Farther down the grid, Dave right there behind Fratters, looking for 12th position. Only one DNF thus far in the race, and everyone's still on the lead lap for the moment. This here is the most active fight on the track at the moment, and I do say at the moment because we're inspecting more fights as Imperium gradually loses positions due to his very worn out hard tires. In fact, here it is. Colley is there. I moved away. Oh, and Fratters goes off circuit. Oof. But yeah, Colley Boy is there on Imperium. Whew, wow, that just goes to show the difference in grip. You could see how much easier the Alfa Romeo was able to put the power down. And now Schumacher closing with speed on Eggety, and actually Zola's now starting to lose touch with the Ferrari. Yep, Schumacher's just set the fastest lap of the race thus far. And we're anticipating that this should be an easy DRS-driven overtake in where Sector 1 merges into Sector 2. Meerkat now by Imperium. Side by side and into the braking zone. There's nothing the AlphaTauri can do to fight back. Schumacher 12 seconds out from Higgs-Boston with 9 laps to go. Well, 10 laps to go. Boston has a significant on-track advantage, but has a time penalty that he has to watch as well. Already, Schumacher's chewing it up and spitting it out. Plastic Love will be the next driver to fight his teammate Imperium at the rate that Imperium's tires are falling off. I'm a little bit more interested to see if Zola is going to be able to get by Eggety in an efficient manner, because Schumacher was not held up by the AlphaTauri seemingly at all. Eggety's already fallen out of DRS range of that Ferrari. Meerkat closing in on Colley Boy as the McLaren driver continues to try to overcome the spin he had earlier. Again though, Meerkat seems to use a lot more ERS than anyone else here, and that kind of puts him in a frustrating position because, well, it's not like you can just easily recharge here. There are a lot more braking zones here than there were pre-2008 or in the good old days of the late 80s, early 90s, but it's not easy by any means, and this also means that it kind of hurts his ability to put power down. Here as he goes to the inside, Alfa Romeo has the advantage on power application. Meerkat's out. Oh, did it make contact? may have made contact. Could there be damage to Meerkat's front wing? I don't see any. As Zola overtakes Egedy pretty straightforward without DRS. And Egedy is actually losing a position to Snake as well. So Egedy has completely seen his tires fall over the cliff. Meerkat's still struggling to get by Collie Boy at the moment. Here's another fight worth noting. Plastic Love has overtaken Imperium. So Imperium now falls to 9th. Next up, the drivers that might catch him would be Gulminator. Thing is, Gulminator is 7.5 seconds out. It's unknown if he'll catch him in time. Schumacher is not closing on Higgs Boston at the rate that we thought he would. The gap is shrinking. But it does not seem like it's shrinking fast enough. Higgs may be the only driver who pitted under the yellow flag and can parlay it into a victory. Egedy now making a stop out of 5th position here. 7th position more like. So Egedy can't go any farther on his tires. But Boston does not seem to be struggling in the same way. Now, it should be noted, though, that Boston is laying on the ERS a lot more than Schumacher and probably using that to try and stay ahead. Boston also is kind of in a position where he hopes that this goes to green to the end because I think he has enough of an advantage that even if Schumacher starts closing with speed on him, Boston needs to think more of, I want to try and get podium positions. He's trying to outrun time penalties here. Snake, time penalty in 4th, and that's not going to help him. Now Schumacher has closed the gap down by about a second this lap. But it'll be 6 laps to go at the line. The gap will need to shrink a lot more for today's pole sitter. There's also still the threat of a potential yellow flag that could really randomize the way this race goes to the end. But now the gap is closing, and Schumacher just set his fastest final sector that time by. He is laying on the ERS now, so Schumacher's starting to feel the pressure of maybe not catching Higgs before race end. Higgs running, still not, he's actually not using his ERS as much now. Schumacher's actually bringing his ERS to try and close down the Aston. There we see it now, he puts on the power. Gap's now closed from about 11.5 seconds to 9.5. I don't think Higgs is going to pit. I think it's now in Higgs' interest to stay out. Bet on Schumacher making some time penalties, making some mistakes, so that way Higgs can hold on to the lead to the end of this race. Big lockup, though, going into the final chicane that time. Yellow flag, Sector 2. It may have been Dave. Can't tell for certain. The gap's now down to 8.9 seconds. So, yeah, this is looking like Boston might walk out of here with a victory. For Schumacher, another win denied, but he will continue to extend his points lead over his rival Zola. Yeah, at this point, Schumacher would need to close by about 2 seconds per lap if he wants to get by the Aston Martin. So I think Higgs, as long as he doesn't put a foot wrong, is going to walk out here with this victory. Fight for 5th as Collie Boy has closed in on Meerkat. Meerkat's actually regained some ERS, so these two are relatively even. They both have low ERS, but they're a lot more even now, so Collie may have an advantage with DRS in this fight. He pops open the rear wing there. Now of note, Collie's tires are a little bit more worn than Meerkat's. Yeah, for the moment, though, Meerkat has the advantage. Schumacher, another fast lap, 131.3. But Boston, although the gap is shrinking, still has the advantage. It's 4 laps to go. If Schumacher can close, not by 2 seconds a lap, but by about 1.75 seconds a lap, he'll have Boston. Schumacher, though, might not worry about trying to close by that much, because Schumacher knows that Boston has time penalties, 3 seconds worth. But Schumacher can't guarantee that he's going to get to the end of this race without time penalties of his own. Snake gets right there behind Zola. Oh, and Zola has a time penalty, so this is now a legit fight for 3rd. Both these drivers, even on time penalties, 3 seconds each. Dave jumping into the pit lane, so he's going to try and go for fastest lap point. Galminator finally overtakes Imperium. So the next driver that Imperium will have to deal with will be Flavor. Flavor, 4.7 seconds out, so Flavor may still have points in the bag for him. Snake gets by Zola. I didn't think that was going to happen, but Snake has gotten by Zola. Coming out of Magus and Beckus in the DRS zone afterwards. At the front, 3 laps to go. Schumacher, 6.2 seconds out. Now 6 seconds. Now less than 6. Can Schumacher get within 3 seconds of Higgs Boston before race is over? Boston has an advantage now in ERS, but his tires are fading. The gap now down to 5.5 seconds. Zola trying to fight back against Snake, but doesn't seem to be able to do anything with it. Collie Boy trying to fight back against Mantic Meerkat. Same thing, can't really do anything there. Eggity is about to catch Flavor for 10th. As I say that, though, Eggity has just gotten a time penalty. And Frater is now paying out 13th for fastest lap as well. At the front, the gap now down to 5 seconds with 5.1 seconds with 5 seconds at the line with 2 laps to go. Schumacher needs to gain a second to lap if he wants to win this. Oh, wow, Boston, a bad lock up through there. For Boston, if he didn't have this time penalty, this would be a win for him. But he's trying to maintain any gap that's more than 3 seconds over Schumacher right now. They're even on ERS at the moment. Boston now puts on a little spurt of power, but not for very long. The gap's close to 1.5 seconds. Through Magus and Beckus is where we are anticipating that Boston will lose the biggest amount of time to Schumacher. But at this point, Schumacher's tires aren't exactly fresh either. He has 11 laps on them. Boston, though, has 21 laps on him. Can he make them last to the end? 4-second gap at the moment. Now less than 4 seconds. Now it's 4 seconds. He'll be coming to the white flag. Boston, can he keep any gap above 3 seconds over Schumacher? Coming out of the final corner. 3.8 seconds is the gap. Schumacher brings it down 3.7. He just set the fastest lap again, 1:31.2. Schumacher needs to close by about 0.6 to get this. .1 seconds. Schumacher needs to keep it clean. 3 seconds. Goldman hits a time penalty farther back. Boston still is in the overall lead. Now it's changed. Schumacher within 3 seconds of Boston. Now back above 3, down below 3. It's all over the place. It keeps fluctuating as they go through Magnus and Beckett, but now it's fluctuating in the Ferrari driver's favor. Onto the final DRS straight. Both drivers laying on the ERS, but Schumacher is within 2.7 seconds and still closing. Boston is going to be the first driver to cross the line, and in his credit, he's going to pull off an incredible strategy and will bring home that Aston Martin machine to a second place finish at the end. But Schumacher, who has been denied victory time and time and time again this season, will finally break the streak with the fastest lap, 1:30.9, and will take home the victory at his home circuit at Silverstone. Boston brings home the Aston Martin team a podium at their home track. Saint comes home third. Zola fourth. Magic Meerkat will come across the line in 5th position. Collie Boy will be 6th. Plastic Love will take 7th. Golminator will take 8th. 9th will go to Eggity. 10th will go to Imperium, and Flavor might be able to gain a few positions on penalty count back post-race. Yeah, Flavor ends up finishing 9th on penalty count back. But finally, Schumacher gets the victory and Boston with an incredible podium drive. Trying to get our podium finishers into the party here. And there's the celebration in the Ferrari camp as they finally bring home a victory. It's taken them so long this year, but they've got it. All right, coming to the party right now is your race winner, Schumacher SF7. Schumacher, go ahead, include your audio. A fantastic drive after being denied a victory so many times this year. It finally comes at your home circuit at Silverstone. Make sure your audio is included. What do you have to say about that run today? Schumacher, can you hear me?
Yep, sorry about that. Michael's on mute. I'm sitting here and I need a shower. So, Yeah, not being very well, as you know. But to drive like that, I, I didn't know I could close him down, Boston down, but I thought chuck the car in and see what the car can do, and it closed him down. I knew his tyres would die towards the end of the race, so that was what I was hoping for, and I just kept pumping fast lap after fast lap in just because I knew I had to. So yeah. But
Well,
yeah,
fast laps indeed. In those final 5 laps, you set 3 of the fastest over the entire course of the day. You were the only person to get into the 130s by the race in, despite the fact that you were on worn-out hard tires.
yeah, I think that says everything about pushing the car to its limits. But I took my mediums an extra lap just because I knew that I would need the hards towards the end of the race, and I did need the hards towards the end of the race, and it worked. So, but for Boston to take them 20 odd laps, whatever he did on them, that's skill because that them tires would have been dead. So, but yeah, I'm happy to bring it home for Ferrari. My teammate finished 9th. He should be proud of that. I know he don't like the track very much. He drove a very good race. On the brand new setup he only had for about 20 minutes before the start of this session. So, yeah.
All right, so this will obviously increase your lead in both manufacturers and drivers' championship. So do you think this is it? Do you think now you've got to win, the rest of them will start sprinkling from the sky like candy, or is it going to be back to hard times and frustration for you?
I've got the win, so it's out of the book. It's out of the way now. All I want is now consistent between P1 and P4. Keep stacking them points, and I'm sure everything will follow into the next few races. But Habago will be back, so we know that he's got some pace. But I'm pretty sure if I can finish P in the top 3 every race, it's a long season, so I'll keep going. So yeah, that's all I've got to say really.
I do want to say once again, thank you and congratulations on that victory. We know how hard it's been for you this season to finally bring home plenty of podiums, but just no wins, it seems, when you need them the most.
Yeah, you tell me about it. It's been stressful, but just got to keep going, and it ended up working out. But yeah, by the way, Thingy says invite him to a party.
Yeah, I've just gotten Higgs gamer tag, so I'm going to add him to a friend so I can get him again at quicker pace in the future, because I do want to talk to him, because that was driver of the day material that he pulled off there.
Yeah, very good drive. I think his tyres were gone though in the last 2 laps, and that's how I closed.
Oh yeah,
6 seconds.
absolutely, but I was really not sure you were going to make it there until you got out of Sector 1 on the last lap. Then I'm like, okay, maybe the Ferrari can get it, because I honestly thought that you weren't going to catch them, because you were faster, but you were not like a second plus a lap faster, and that's honestly what you needed to be. He just only fell off so much in the final session.
Yeah.
That was the only reason it happened.
Yep, precisely. That's the only reason I won that race. Pending any investigation. That's what I'm going to say, because you never know.
Well, you did run a relatively clean race. All right, here we are. Coming in the party now is Higsby. Higsby, go ahead. Make sure your audio is included. Easy driver of the day material, mate. Fantastic drive to second. What do you have to say about that run today? I hear you all right. All right. Well, I am a little curious. What were those last 2 laps like on those tires? Ooh.
I was just hoping.
Well, irregardless, driver of the day material for sure. You're one of the first drivers in X3 to have gone ahead and drive on the PC rather than Xbox, as cross-platform play is apparently finally getting patched to working. Do you think driving on the PC gave you any significant advantage in today's race?
Well, I maybe I do have.
Alright, well, either way, advantage or not, mate, pure strategy brings home a fantastic podium for you and the Aston Martin group. You can hold your head high for sure after that. Alright, and with that in mind, now I'll pretty much wrap up our broadcast here from Silverstone. In about an hour's time, it will be the X2 race here as well. Next week, though, I'll be broadcasting X3. Until that time, I've been your host, Insanely 13. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.